Okay, we are live. All right. All right, welcome everybody. At this time, going to reconvene the Suffern Central Board of Education meeting for October 5th, 2021. Let the record reflect that all board members are currently present with the exception of Dr. Nick Pond, who is unable to attend the meeting tonight. You may also notice some changes in the room. They're all very exciting, and I'm sure there'll be a little bit of an explanation. And, you know, this very long microphone that I'm going to bump my head into. Anyway, at this time, we're reconvening, so let's all rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. So just a reminder to everybody sitting here, board members and administrators, because of the new setup in this room, there is no more camera in the middle. So if you're going to speak, you really have to make sure you remember to put your microphones on, otherwise the video will not pick it up. So. Okay, student report. Do we have a student?
Hi, my name is Michael Psat, and I'm a senior at Suffern High School. This past week, we had our Club Expo on Friday. We hosted over 50 clubs, so kids began getting involved and learning about the opportunities and the variety of clubs the school offers. This Friday, we have a home football game. The football team is selling $10 shirts during our unit lunch. Wednesday, October 13th, students from grades 9 to 11 are taking the PSAT during school. At that time, all the seniors are engaging in different assemblies. The high school has colleges come to visit our school during lunch. I, for one, met with the Penn State ambassador. The peer leaders met with the freshmen and will soon be meeting with the sophomores. This program gives the seniors a chance to help the lower classmen find their way around the school and ask for help or solutions for any problems that arises. The fall play rehearsals are underway. The show will consist of a few different small productions. Our Spirit Week has been moved to the week of the 18th through the 22nd of October. This is a week where we have a chance to raise the spirit and overall mood of the school with themes each day, and of course the class colors on that Friday. Fall sports are beginning their senior games to acknowledge the graduating class of each sport. Field hockey's was today, and that's about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Uh, 1.08, minutes of the regular meeting of September 14th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Mr. Shapiro. Second?
Second.
Mr. Donnelly. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Okay. 1.09, Superintendent Comments.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, to our recently renovated Board of Education room and Professional Development Center. We are extremely proud of the work that's been done in here by our in-house custodial and maintenance staff, as well as some outside contractors, to really provide this district with a state-of-the-art facility for professional development so we can continue to move teaching and learning forward within the Suffern Central School District. We hope, as this pilot space for professional development evolves, that we will be able to replicate or use this learning space as an example of what we can infuse into our school buildings as well. So I'd like to thank the staff that has played an instrumental role in making this happen. We're excited to be in this space as a Board of Education, and we look forward to all the learning that's going to take place with our staff members in the future. I would like to address the recent challenges that we at Suffern Central School District, as well as other school districts in Rockland County throughout the state of New York, and as we come to understand throughout the nation, the challenge of busing services for our students. It is certainly not a problem that is unique to Suffern Central, and it pains me to see the emails that come in to me with parents that are complaining that the bus is either late or, in some cases, too early, and sometimes bus routes that have to be merged. It's a problem. It's a significant problem, and we are dealing with this problem to the best of our ability, recognizing that we are working with a third-party contractor who we have been assured is working really hard to make sure that they are hiring the bus drivers that they can get. Some of the board members that were at Suffern Day saw Chestnut Ridge Transportation advertising and recruiting bus drivers. We recently received a list from the state of New York with eligible citizens that have a CDL license that are not employed as bus drivers right now. And Chestnut Ridge Transportation is reaching out to those individuals to see if they can hire more bus drivers. It's not a matter of finances. It's not a matter of not having enough buses. It's simply a matter of not having enough drivers willing to drive our buses. And I can assure the public, both in this room and those of you who are watching this Zoom meeting, that I'm working with local state officials and representatives who are setting up some meetings where I can speak with individual representatives from both our public school and non-public school constituents to talk about and listen to the specific problems that those who they represent are facing so that we can make some improvements along the way. And we hope to have improvements for this year in the short term, and of course also for next year and beyond. I would like to make sure, and Mr. Coronado, if you could put up on the screen the flyer for something very exciting that we're working on here. We all know that social emotional learning these days, especially during COVID, and after what all students went through last year, social emotional learning and students recognizing where they are on the LEI mood meter is essential to having students thrive in their educational environments right now. There's a significant portion of the school day that focuses on making sure students are in touch with their own mental health and recognizing that they sometimes need to reach out for assistance when the time is right. So we are inviting all families for a really special night entitled Feelings Matter for Families. It's really an evening where families and their children are going to explore the LEI practices so that we can ensure that people are learning ways to help and enhance the family relationships, not just the relationships that take place in school. As you can see on the flyer, that event is taking place on Wednesday, October 13th from 7 to 8:30 at the Suffern Middle School. All families are welcome. There's a QR code there where we can scan it and register so we can get a sense of the audience that we are to expect next week. I urge you all to consider attending that event. It's going to be special. And then finally, last but certainly not least, to wrap up the superintendent's comments this evening, I'm going to invite our district auditor up to the podium where she can provide the district and the Board of Education with an overview of this year's audit. Thank you very much.
All right. My name is Donnelly Berard. I'm a CPA, and I'm with the firm of Berard & Associates. We're here in Suffern, and we've been honored to do your audit for the last several years for the Suffern School District. We're presenting today the June 2021 audit for the year. The audit report is actually about 72 pages long. We're not actually looking at that today. We have reviewed it with the audit committee and gone over it in details today. We're just doing a presentation to the board for the summary of how your year went. We do have a little presentation that is coming up. Here we go. All right, so let's see, I got to move it forward. All right, the highlights for this year, just to hit the highlights. We are issuing an unmodified opinion, which is what you want. That is the what we call the clean opinion for the year. I did want to let everybody know that we worked well with the staff. The business office was very cooperative, and the audit actually went very smooth. So I do want to thank all the staff that helped make this audit proceed. There was only one new accounting pronouncement that occurred this year that we had to implement, and it's what we call GASB 84, and it deals with fiduciary funds and the way that they were reported. That was implemented, and all the adjustments required that needed to be made were taken care of. Just in the big picture, we'll just go over these a little bit detail in the next couple of slides. Your general fund is the main fund. That's the one we really want to focus on. You actually had a $1.5 million gain this year. That was prior to $4.8 million that you transferred over into the capital projects fund. Your revenues over budget, you were about $1.2 million better than budget for the revenues, and your expenditures were actually under budget 4.7. However, there's about $4 million of that actually will not be paid for until next year, but are part of this year's budget. So we call that encumbered. So that 4.74 million was encumbered. So you're about 0.7 million less in expenses overall, so you had a good year on both the revenue and the expense side. You did have some COVID monies that you did receive. There was some CARES funding of about $665,000 and some CARSA money about 1.1 million this year. So that was new this year. And the unassigned fund balance is 5.8 million, and I'll go over that a little detail in a minute. In this report, one of the reasons it's so big is there's actually two presentations. There's one that is a full GASB or generally accepted principles for school districts. And what it does is it's full accrual basis. And it actually takes a look as if you had to close your doors today, what would it look like? And this report really is not meaningful in terms of how you operate the school, but it is a required presentation. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It's pretty typical here. We're actually showing at the end of this year $189 million loss overall net position. Understanding, of course, that this is not really the true position that we look at. We look at the day-to-day and kind of the pay-as-you-go method. But what this does, and one of the reasons this looks worse than it may appear, is you actually are obligated to pay a bunch of benefits, health benefits and retirement benefits, and is booking all those. So there's $304 million alone of some of these health benefits, and then there's also pension benefits in here as well of 31 million. So those are what are making these look really bad. So this is really, I just wanted, since it's included in here, I wanted to go over it, but I'm not going to really focus on that. Really what we want to talk about is the fund basis. This is the way that you actually budget, the way you describe it to your taxpayers, and the way you measure it during the course of the year. This page is showing your revenues, and we're showing here, if we look at the bottom column in the middle, the actual, you have 137 million in revenue this year. That's actually slightly better, about 1 million better than the 136 million that you had budgeted for that. You're actually about 1 million also from the year before. The year before is 136 million. We know that difference of that $1,200,000 variance, half of that is the CARES Act money of 665,000. So you actually did very well. Your revenue came in pretty close to exactly where you wanted it to be for the year. So that's good news. The next page is a summary of the expenditures. The expenditures overall, if we look at that middle column, we ended expenditures with almost $136 million. That's right above that yellow number of $1.5 million. Those actual expenses compared to what you had budgeted of $144 million, you're actually under budgeted by that second column from the right of 4.7 million. But of that amount, we know that 4 million of that is encumbered toward next year. So again, you did better in expenses than the year before. The couple of lines that does kind of stand out a little bit is the teaching costs. The regular school teaching cost was about 2 million more than the year before. And the public transportation was also about 2 million more than the year before. You had less in debt service. You're doing a great job in getting your debt down. That's a lot of the bonds that you have are actually finishing up, and you only have a couple of more years on that. So that's also good news. The bottom line, you actually had an excess of revenues of 1.5 million. We take off the 4 million that you transferred for capital projects. You actually had 3 projects that you started this year that were pretty significant, about $4.8 million. That was the Cherry Lane roof, the R.P. Connor boiler, and the Suffern Middle School roof as well. Those were projects that you started to fund that you'll be working on in the future, but you funded them actually without debt. So that's good news. So the net on that gives you an ending fund balance here of $41 million, and we'll look at the details of that in a minute. The next slide, which is the overall position of where you are with your fund balances. This is important because it shows the taxpayers what your net fund balance is worth and how you have allocated it out and for what purposes you have it allocated for. The general fund is your main fund, and the bottom number here, actually it's the second one from the bottom. Your total fund balance is $41 million at the end of the year. Kind of working your way up from the top, you've allocated $20 million of that for tax certiorari's. This is funding just in case you do have a bunch of certiorari cases out there. Should any of them become major, you have enough money put aside to actually cover them without having to happen to deal with potential future increases. Then you have some money set aside for some capital projects. The state allows you to put some money aside for retirement reserves and benefit reserves and teacher reserves. So there you've got, another $4 or $5 million as well. Then we have that in that assigned, that those few numbers there are the 4.7 that is encumbered, or that $4 million that you have encumbered toward next year. So it's included in the 41 million, but we know that you're going to spend that part of this year's money next year. Also, the 3.1 million, the subsequent year expenditures, last year's budget, your coming year's budget, actually was budgeted to have a loss of 3.1 million, and you're going to use reserves to fund it. So you're showing the taxpayers that you're being cautious and not increasing their taxes needlessly. That leaves you unassigned of 5.7 million. Overall, not a whole lot of excess reserves, considering that your total expenses for the year are, the total expenses are 135 million. So the reserves are not really overstated, and you seem to be in a pretty healthy position here. The other funds you have are really very small. The special aid funds actually always are zeroed out because they're reserved for those special funds. We got $1 million left over to use for the school lunch program. And the capital projects, you have about $9 million still unspent of various funding sources there. We know that 4.8 of that is those 3 new projects that you have coming up. In addition to doing your regular financial audit that everybody understands, we also did an extra classroom audit, which means we looked at the funds that all the little clubs and programs have each year. And again, we're issuing an unqualified report. And just to give you some idea of what's in there, the high school has about 158,000, in the middle school about 50,000 of funds that belong to the students and their various projects. We also do what's called a single audit. What a single audit is when you have federal funds, we're required to actually do a review of compliance and internal controls over test areas. And this year we had to test the child nutrition program and the federal funds that you got. And we had no findings on those, that you were following all the compliance rules that came with those particular funds. We really had no real major internal control findings or things to talk about. We've gone over those with the audit committee, so I don't want to labor that again. But I think you had a really great year, and you had really good staff, and everything looked very nice. Does anybody have any questions?
No, thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Can you turn this off?
Thank you. Steve, good job.
Thank you for the presentation. And thank you for everybody that took part in managing our finances over the last year and in taking care of the audit. So thank you, Steve. Thank you, Donnelly. And everybody's good? No questions? Okay. All right. I'm turning it back. Are we still in superintendent comments? No, you're done? Okay. All right. All right. So moving on, 1.10 public participation. This is public participation on action items only. This will be a 30-minute period. If anybody has comments on action items, please step to the podium. Okay, seeing as there are none, we will close this portion of the meeting. Oh, okay. So that would be for the second public participation. So we'll have another section for participation on any district-related business after we approve our action items for the night. Okay, so action items. So we have 2.01 through 2.19. 2.20. I would call for a consent agenda. So if there is any item that anybody wishes to pull at this time, please let me know. Good. Good. Okay. So we'll call for a consent agenda. This is for action items 2.01 through 2.20. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
No?
Motion.
All right, Mr. Donnelly. Second?
Second.
Mr. Frazier? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? All right, thank you. I think we have a few maybe batteries that need to be charged a little more.
I'm back. Yep.
Oh, you're back? Okay.
I hit it over in the corner. No, but the silver.
What's that?
The middle one. Hit the corner. The other corner. That's where I went.
All right.
We can share.
All right. Moving on. Board member comments, 6.01. Any board member comments at this time? No. Okay. We'll move along to public participation. Now, this public participation is for any district-related business. So for anybody who does wish to speak about anything related to Suffern Central, please step to the podium and just state your name and your affiliation with the district or the community. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. What I will do is I'll give you like a little warning at 2.5, so you know where you are, and then I'll give you another one at 3. So at this time, anybody who wishes to speak, please step to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Bayla Wurzberger. I'm a parent that sends their children here to a private school. I'd like to bring to the board's attention a matter that greatly affects the parents and children of our private schools. Today is October 5th, and to date, I have not received a timely pickup even once. I've waited patiently and not so patiently too many mornings for my daughter's non-existent school bus to arrive. We've been notified that there's a rotation schedule in place, and it's just 2% of the routes that don't have drivers assigned. Look around the population of the room and draw your own conclusion as to which 2% that is. As residents and taxpayer, I'd like to point out that the only benefit we receive is transportation from the district. This morning, I've been notified after hours of phone calls and emails back and forth that we've been assigned a route that starts at 9:15 a.m. It's almost insulting. School starts at 8:55 a.m. sharp, yet our route starts at 9:15. My pickup today was at 9:47 a.m. precisely. Needless to say, the driver drove the empty bus to each stop, but the children have long gone. I know that exactness is a virtue the school district appreciates, as I am required to submit my transportation application in April. That's 5 full months prior to the start of the school year. I would like to propose some ideas that may actually help our children get to school on time. 1, perhaps we can allow the schools to provide their own transportation and reimburse them for it. 2, reimburse the parents for transportation costs. Or 3, we can actually put in place a fare rotation where we get pickups on Sundays, timely pickups that is, and then multiple times a week, we get a late pickup. I hope we can come to a sensible and fair resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Could you just tell me your name again?
Sure. Baylor Wertzberger. Baylor Wertzberger.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bracha Goldberger. I have some children that take the Suffern Central bus. Just like Bela, I applied for busing in April or before the deadline. My buses have not shown up for the last 3 days, taking my kids to school. And on the way home, my son did not have busing a couple days in a row. He's been waking up and crying that he's not going to go to school because he's having such anxiety over the bus situation that he just can't deal with it. He doesn't want to go. This is not fair to him. This is not fair to me who has to deal with it. And I have to get to work after the kids go to school. Starting a bus route at 9:15 and letting us know that morning is not really going to cut it. My boss really doesn't want to hear that when I get there. This is not working for, the kids. It's not working for me, and we're all suffering from this.
Thank you.
My name is Rivka Gross. I have 2 children learning in the school district, Malki Alea, in 7th and 3rd grade respectively. There's not really much I need to add. They really pretty much summed it up. I just want to add one thing. Our children learn from the minute they wake up, not just from the minute they get to school. Every adult in their life is a role model. This debacle has taught them nothing but the irresponsibility, the lack of importance that we place on punctuality, even dishonesty in the face of uncomfortable truths. There are so many times that we can hear platitudes, voices of concern, voices of sympathy before we say that will really, really not satisfy us. We are no longer satisfied. We have emailed, we have called, we have been excessively polite, and we have received merely politeness in return, but zero action items. We really, really will no longer be satisfied by hearing, we know it's an issue and we're doing all we can. We must have, as either Bela mentioned, some very, very clear results that we can do, or as I'm sure the honorable board members can come up with some very clear solutions that we can do. We must put real action items into place for the busing and for showing our children that we are adults. We deal with issues when they arise. There has been a growing discontent in the community between the disparity of the collection and the allocation of school taxes. I am really hoping that this can be an issue that we use to build bridges and not further the divide within the school district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lavi Breuer. Thank you all for being here. I just want to point out to one of the suggestions we've heard earlier that perhaps we should let the schools handle the buses and let the district reimburse them. That it used to be like that until the demographic changed and the board got very concerned 3-4 years ago. There were many gentlemen here back then begging you guys. The videos are still on YouTube. If you want, I'll start sending it out on social media if needed. We were begging you, don't do this. There is no way one school district can handle 100 different schools, boys and girls, different timings. You guys are representing over here incompetence, incapability. Oh, we're trying our best. Guess what? It ain't working. Change it. Go back to the way it was. Let the schools handle the buses and reimburse them. That makes no sense. Someone moves, they need to contact a school district to reach out to a third party. You know how Chestnut Ridge is serving us, like Congress and Senate and the rest of you. Have a good day, all.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Benjamin Coleman. I live in the village of Vermont. I'm a parent of 3 kids. I have another issue. On those days that I do get a busing, our bus stop is in a very dangerous corner. So bad as the bus even doesn't want to stop. The driver sees it. The administration probably doesn't see where the bus stops, so the driver sees it, and the driver says he's going to come to the block because he doesn't want to put our kids off by his bus stop that he was assigned. So he comes into our block and makes the turn, passes my house and makes a turn and drops back off the kids at the corner of the street, of the main street. So we called the administration, whoever is the charge, to see what can be done. He anyways passes our house. Why can't we just have the stop and drop off our kids? But no one was budging. He just comes in and passes my house and goes back to the main street corner, and that's where our kids are being dropped off. We tried to call in and nothing has been changed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, all. My name is Joseph Zickerman. I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of New York. We all have pledged allegiance to the same flag of the United States. All of our children in this district deserve the same equal treatment. And there were reports of a private monitor that our schools have more delays than other schools. This is in addition to previous complaints from previous years, stops and some other complaints. And I think it would make sense to have to reimburse the schools and have them deal with their own things. I think it would be for the best interest to benefit of everyone. Thanks all for taking your time.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Anybody else with a comment? No? Okay. So we'll close this portion of the meeting, and thank you everybody that did speak here tonight. Again, we recognize the issue, and I think it has already been addressed. But thank you all for coming and speaking publicly. This is going to be addressed with the next by saying you know there's an issue. We all know there's an issue, but we know there's an issue because we're experiencing it each and every day. We understand. Public participation is not a dialogue. Public participation is an opportunity for the community members and parents to speak on matters that are important to them and allow the district an opportunity to take those concerns back and find reasonable solutions. I can't speak to timelines, no. Are you looking at a resolution, or? I think we are consistently looking at finding resolutions. I think our superintendent addressed that prior. Okay.
A board meeting every 2 weeks, so we bring the kids after the family. It will overcrowd the room over here. I hope you guys don't have to come in again.
In all honesty, I'm just going to repeat what he said. I don't think there was a point to us coming in there before we hear our platitudes. What this is doing is furthering the divide between those who feel that they pay into the system and literally receive nothing. Transportation was the one thing we received from the district. If you take that away, what exactly is left? And then why should we play fair? Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent, closing comments? Sure.
Yes, sir.
No, you went off.
There we are. You're good.
So thank you very much. I wanted to address the topic of concern here among the parents that came here this evening, and just reiterate that we do have 101 different bus routes. And if I take a look at just today's bus routes themselves, we had 10% of the buses on those 103 routes that had issues, either lateness, cancellations, what have you. It's a real problem. And it pains me to hear people step up to the microphone or for me to read emails from people who are saying that their children are crying, their children are upset, when everyone, whether you're a public school parent or a non-public school parent, all you expect is for your child to be able to get on a bus and go to school. And I acknowledge, and as the superintendent of schools, I take responsibility for that not working correctly. And I know that there have been several people that stated here that they've heard that time and time again. Well, this is the first time I'm stating it here as the new superintendent, that I'm looking for solutions and looking to see how we can make this situation better. It won't be solved overnight, but I can tell you, out of the 34 public routes, 10% of those 34 public routes today had transportation issues, where I received emails from public school parents about their children being upset getting late to school. Out of the 71 non-public school buses routes, I had 10% of those routes experience issues. And I read emails from those parents expressing frustration. So although this Board of Education meeting is not an opportunity for public dialogue, I will reiterate what I said in the beginning of the meeting, which is I have a meeting scheduled with representatives from the non-public community, and I also have discussions with parents from the public school community where I am committing to you that I am going to work with you to help solve the problem. We may not agree on all points, but I'm going to hear what those specific concerns are. I welcome your ideas. I will tell you that we will work to find a better solution. It's a national problem, but it's a problem for every one of our kids who complains and faces anxiety about getting on a bus late. We will make it better. So I appreciate you this evening. I don't want to engage in dialogue. This is not the right place, but I'm committing to you that I'm willing and eager to meet representatives from both the public and non-public community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, we'll make a motion to adjourn. Our next board meeting will be Tuesday, October 19th. Do I have a motion? Oh, hang on.
Motion.
I'm going to give that to Mr. Shapiro. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Frazier? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All, thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned. We will see you in 2 weeks. Have a great couple of weeks. Thank you.